Avoda zara daf nun tes amar aleph 6 lines from the top. Rabchi bar Abba equally Gablo. Rabchi bar Abba came to the city of Gablo, Chaza, and he saw the lazy sold him Abram. He saw that Jewish daughters are becoming impregnated from Goyim Shemalu Tavlu, that they were in the process of converting, that they circumcised themselves, but they weren't able themselves. And so to the Chazachamra, they saw the guy, the Mazgu of the Gechavim, that he was diluting the wine with water. Vishasi saw the Yidden would drink the wine. And the third thing, Chaz to Musa, they saw these small beans, were small round beans. The Shalkilay that the guy was cooking them, because they're bitter, they need to be cooked many, many times. Achli Yisrael, and the Yidden were eating it with Layamalu and he did not say anything. Asla coming to Rabbi Yochanan, came before Rabbi Yochanan and told over what he had seen. When Rabbi Yochanan had heard that, Amalai, he said to Rabbi Chia, say, go and proclaim to the children that were born from these goyim that were circumcised l'shem geiros, but they weren't able themselves that they are mamzerim, that these children are mamzerim. About Yenon, and also about the wine that they diluted with water, they're going that they diluted with water. Shmi yain nesach has a din of yain nesach. Musan, and then the beans that they had to cook to take away the bitterness. Mishum shulev gechavim has a isa bishlako mishum shein b'nei Torah, because they are not b'nei Torah, and therefore they asked it, even if the Michael is not kosher and it's not eila shulchan shamelach. We're going to talk about it later. The Gemara will explain. Mamzedim, the children go proclaim that the Mamzedim, Rabbi Yochanan Tamei. Rabbi Yochanan goes according to his reasoning. Rabbi Yochanan said, a person is not a convert until he does both. Circumcises himself and tell himself. The king of the late Tavil, since this guy has not immersed himself in the mikvah, he's considered as a complete guy. The Evan Haba Basi Soul, and Bachanat said, name Rabbi Yochanan, a guy, or that lives with a Basi Soul, Havala Mamza, the child is a Mamza. Second case was, when they get to the wine, if a guy diluted the wine with water, it's Yain Nasa. Says, what's the reason? Like Rabbi Yochanan himself said to Rabbi Mishum, we say, like the mashal that we tell a nazir, like we tell a nazir, go around the vineyard, don't come even close to it, because to avoid from coming to drink wine. So to avoid that, the same thing. To avoid yain, we say the same thing. We avoid it, and we call it yain, even though the guy didn't touch the wine, he just poured water to dilute it. But it's a hachaka, just like we did a hachaka by a nazir who's not allowed to drink wine. We say he has to go around the vineyard. And the beans, there is the isa bishlakim. Because they're not b'nei Torah. Time always is because they're not learned people. B'nei Torah shari. It's mashma. But if they would have been b'nei Torah, it would have been permitted for them to eat these round beans that the goy cooked. In fact, you might have heard every food that is able to be eaten raw without cooking, there's no isab bishlakum. But over here in our case, the tumusim cannot be eaten only through cooking, because it has a very bitter taste. The only way to get rid of it is by cooking it and soaking it many times. And the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, and it should be even also a b'nei Torah is akasha. Why do you say that if the b'nei Torah it's mutter? And the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan didn't argue on the words of Rav. Only what could be eaten raw is mutter. But something that cannot be eaten raw, of course it's going to be asa, even for b'nei Torah. He says he holds like this lashon. any food that doesn't come on the Shulchan Aruch to be used with bread, lachli ma'isapas, to be eaten with the bread. There's no isa of bishul akum. And since this is not a Michael Choshev that goes on Shulchan Aruch, therefore, the time of the whole reason that the Bnei ear of God, that he asked it to the Bnei ear of Gavla, that the Priya asked is only because they ain't Bnei Torah, because they're not learned, and he was geizer by Bishlakum that they might, if will be mata this, they'll not know that there's a chilik if it's Eila Shulchan Aruch or not. Bnei Torah, surely, but if they're Bnei Torah, we don't have to worry that there'll be mezalzel in this din. And they'll know that there's a chilik if it's Eila Shulchan Aruch or not. Sagt die Worte Bnei Yeshiva asked me Rav Kahana, Eiv Kecham, but Bnei Rav Kahana, the Bnei Yeshiva asked me Rav Kahana, Eiv Kecham Mahu Sheyel Chanavim. What's the din for a guy to bring from the vineyard to the vat the grapes to be squeezed out in the vat? Amalahu, Rav Kahana answered, also it's forbidden. Mishum Achaka, because of Achaka for Avoda. What Achaka? Just like we tell a Nazir, Lech. We tell the Nazir, go around the vine. We don't want you to come to the Issa of drinking wine as a Nazir. And because you might come to eat the grapes if we let you through the vineyard. Now that is here also, by him diluting it, even though he didn't touch the wine, we want to make hachaka that it should be Asa. A guy that had brought already from the vineyard legat to the vat, his vat is salim in baskets of the durin or in small barrels, even though the wine is pouring over the grapes that's in the basket or in the barrel, small barrel, mutter. The wine is going to be mutter. So it's mashma that there's no iser for a guy to bring the grapes to the vat. And the Gemara Amalei Hakana said to Aviyema, hey, Bikabit, you're talking about he already asked me from a question where he had already brought it. If he already brought it, of course it's going to be mutter. I know Lechatchila, but I was talking about Lechatchila, that he shouldn't allow the guy to help him to bring the grapes from the vineyard to the vat in order to distance a person from drinking Yain Asach Mamish. But surely, b'diyavad, if the guy brought the grapes, he's not going to answer it. He didn't do anything. The Gemara brings a story, but a guy touching wine. There was this essig that had fallen into a barrel of wine. The guy jumped and put his hand into the wine with shakle, and he grabbed onto the essig so it shouldn't sink into the wine. Ravashi said, Nakaliya, they hold on to the guy's hand who grabbed the essig in order to avoid him from stirring the wine, and by stirring it would make the wine also uvatsuho, and drain out the wine or tilt it to the side at the shefa till the wine gets drained out beneath from where his hands are, that there won't be wine over his hands anyway. Meaning to drain the wine till the wine is way beneath his hands, what's holding the essig, so he's not going to be able to stir the wine. Amar Ravashi, this guy that poured wine for Yid b'kavana, with the intention for Avoda zara, even to sell it to another guy is forbidden, because the yain is asmana. Nevertheless, Sharalei, the Yid is allowed Lamishkal Dmei to Mahu from that guy who was poured it as a libation to his Avoda zara. We're allowed to force him to pay for it. My time, what's the reason? The Mikla Kalya. It's considered as the guy burned the wine while it was still good, and he destroyed it, and it's not considered making money from Yain Nesach. He destroyed the wine while the wine was good. It's like he burnt it then, and therefore he has to pay the Yid, the one who poured the wine for Yain Nesach. Where do I know this from? It says, the time that we learned the Braisa, a guy who had poured his wine meaning the wine of a Yid, through steering his hands into for Avodas Yechavim, and he did Shalei B'fnei Avodas Yechavim, but he didn't do it in front of the idol. The yain is also imanav. Rabbi Yehuda say the matinin, they are matter the wine. Nishum shnei dvarim, because of two reasons. One is because yain essence is only when it's done in front of an idol, and here it wasn't done in front of an idol. Another reason is that the guy doesn't have the capability of answering the wine against the one who owns it against his will. So the words of Yehuda Baba, Rabbi Yehuda say we can learn out that a Yid to take the worth of the wine from the guy who did do it, because he could say, you don't have the right to ask my wine against my will.